All right, let's talk about something that drives pretty much every developer crazy: messy, tangled code. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Today, we're going to crack open an architectural pattern that is a total game changer for bringing order to that chaos. It'll make your apps clean, super testable, and way easier to maintain. So let's just dive right in.
So let me ask you something. Does this sound painfully familiar? You crack open a view model or a controller, and what do you see? A total mess. Database queries, API calls, and your most critical business rules all jumbled together in one place. It's a nightmare, right? This is such a common headache, and that is exactly what we're here to fix.
And this right here, this visualizes that transformation perfectly. On the left, you've got the tangle. It's that classic spaghetti code where the controller's just a mess, grabbing stuff from APIs, the database, you name it. But then look at the right, the order. It's this beautiful, clean, one-way street. The controller talks to a use case, which talks to a repository. Simple. That clean separation, that's the goal.
Yeah, we have a name for this mess: the code spaghetti problem. It's what happens when the heart and soul of your application, your core business logic, starts leaking out all over the place, especially into your UI components. And when that happens, your code becomes a nightmare to test, a real pain to debug, and just forget about maintaining it long term.
So how do we find some sanity in all this chaos? Well, there's a pattern that's basically designed to be our hero here. It's called the use case pattern, and its main mission, its whole purpose, is to achieve something we call business isolation. Think of it like building a fortress, a protected, sacred space, just for your business rules.
Business isolation. What does that actually mean? Well, it's the big idea. Your core business logic should be completely walled off from the outside world. It shouldn't have a clue whether its data is coming from a SQL database, a fancy API, or even a plain old text file. It just shouldn't care. And that separation, that's the absolute key to building an app that's robust, flexible, and ready for the future.
All right, to pull off this magic trick of isolation, the use case pattern uses three main components. They all have to work together perfectly. So let's meet the players on this architectural dream team, one by one. First up, we have the entity. And honestly, this is the simplest piece of the puzzle. It's just a plain old data structure. Think of a user or a product. But here's the golden rule. It has zero dependencies. I mean, nothing. No framework imports, no database annotations. It is just pure, clean data. Okay, next is the repository interface. Now, this is where the real magic of decoupling happens. I want you to think of this as a strict contract. It defines what you can do with data, like get me a user by their ID, but it says absolutely nothing about how you're going to do it. This is huge because it means our business logic can just ask for data based on the contract without ever needing to know where that data is actually coming from.
And that brings us to the star of the show, the use case. My favorite analogy for this is a specialist chef. This chef does one thing and one thing only, but does it perfectly. A great example is upgrade user to premium. The use case takes the ingredients that are promised by that repository contract we just talked about, and it follows a very specific recipe, that's your business rule. It runs the whole show, relying only on those promises.
Okay, that's enough theory. Let's get our hands dirty and make this real. We're going to build out a classic feature, upgrading a user to a premium subscription. This is where you'll really see how these three pieces click together.
So here's the plan. It's just 3 steps. Step 1, model the data with our entity. Step 2, define the contract with the repository interface. And step 3, write the actual logic in the use case. Simple as that. Let's do it. Okay, here's our user entity. Just look at it. It's so simple, right? It's just a Kotlin data class. Notice what's not there. No Android imports, no database annotations. It's completely independent. This is what we mean by a pure, self-contained model living right at the heart of your app's domain. All right, now for the contract. This user repository interface is super straightforward. It just makes 2 promises. You can get a user, and you can update a user. That's it. And this is the secret to isolation. Our business logic is going to use this interface, and it couldn't care less if the real implementation is a local database or a network call. As long as the contract is honored, it's happy.
And here it is, the use case itself. Now pay close attention to the constructor. See how we're asking for the user repository interface? We are not asking for a specific database class. That's the whole point. Then inside, we'd have a function that gets the user, checks if they're already premium, and if not, updates them. And because it's only talking to that interface, you know what that means for testing? We can just hand it a fake mock repository. It makes testing this core logic an absolute breeze.
So after all that, what's the payoff? Oh, it's huge. First, our upgrade user to premium use case has one job and it does it well. Second, our core logic is now totally free from the chains of any specific database or UI framework. And my favorite part? You can literally open your project folder, and just by reading the names of your use cases, you can see a list of every feature your app has. How cool is that? It's like the code documents itself.
All right, let's wrap this up by quickly going over the rules of the game. If you stick to these principles, you're going to keep your architecture clean and tidy.
This table lays it all out. Right at the core, your most protected layer, you've got the entity and the repository interface. Total isolation. Then you have the use case, which is still highly isolated. The only place where isolation is low is way out on the edge, in the infrastructure layer. That's where your actual database code or API client lives because, well, it has to know about those specific technologies.
And that brings us to the final and maybe most important point. Now that our business logic is completely walled off from the database, the network, the UI, everything, it only depends on a simple contract. So I'll just leave you with this question. How easy do you think it is now to write a blazing fast, super reliable unit test for that piece of logic? The answer? It's almost laughably easy. And that, right there, is a massive win.